What up, guys? Today is the day that we install brakes on my 2014 WRX. We're doing the STI swap front and rear with rotors, calipers, pads, and draining the brakes. This will be a series. We're going to first do how to install, then all the parts that you're going to need, and then how to actually bed in your brakes properly. So by show of hands, who is excited for this? Because I know I am super stoked. So pretty sure you guys raise your hand too. Let's jack the car up, take the wheels off, and let's get going. Jeff's here with me. He's helping me install my STI brakes. He actually did the swap not too long ago, so that's definitely a plus that someone is here helping me that has already done it, so we're not going to run into many mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and take this bolt off on the back right here to remove the caliper, and then also we're going to loosen the bolt to the brake line so we can take the caliper off and get to the rotor. So for the bolt on the back right here, you're going to take your 17mm and go ahead and place it on the back, and probably you want to hit it with a mallet to get it broke. So now that you have the first one pretty loose, go ahead and remove the second one down on the bottom. Same process. So once those two bolts are removed, we're going to go ahead and take the brake line off from the assembly, and it's a 12mm wrench. So now that we have the bolts that hold the caliper to the hub, you're going to go ahead and just slide it off and go ahead and place it off to the side. There. After that's placed to the side, it's time to remove the rotor so we can swap it out. So in taking off the rotor, you can go ahead and hit it with a rubber mallet by just rotating it each way until it gets loose, and then it'll just pop right off. And there you have your old WRX brake rotor. So one really good thing about this swap is that you do not have to mess with your dust shield at all for your brakes. One thing you do want to do is clean it off, just because there's a lot of stuff on here. So we'll go ahead and hit that with some brake cleaner. So now we'll just let it sit for a little, and then we'll go ahead and place the new rotor on. So the next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and hit the new rotor with brake cleaner as well, front and rear. Here is a comparison, new versus old. As you can see, a huge difference in size. So now we'll go ahead and place the new rotor on. Now that it's basically on here, we're going to take some lug nuts and drive them in so we make sure that the rotor is seated well.
Trigger's sensitive.
So the next step we're going to do is swap the brake line from the stock WRX caliper to the Brembo one. So you're going to go ahead and put anti-seize on the bolts that go into the Brembo caliper. So we're going to go ahead and assemble the brake. Right now we're putting in the two bolts as well as the bleeder screw. Just go ahead and anti-seize, make sure everything's up on there good, so you don't want anything to mess up. So for the bleeder screws, you're going to want to use an 11mm wrench to go ahead and put those in the caliper itself.
You're gonna get. I do top one first.
Now that the bolts are basically hand tight on here, we're going to take your 19 and just go ahead and tighten it down.
Time to check them.
Yeah, I'm surprised you saw that.
I've gotten so many nails, I like see that right away. I'm like hypersensitive to it. Like, fuck! Like I know it even before I can see it. I'm like, ah, damn it, I have a fucking nail.
So next, we're going to go ahead and remove the stock or the stainless steel brake line from the stock caliper to the Brembo one itself. You're going to want to use a 12mm wrench to go ahead and take the bolt off the stainless steel line. And just like that, your stainless steel brake line is now inserted in. You're going to want to try to get the least amount of brake fluid on stuff, as it is pretty corrosive. So just make sure you wipe down any that drips. So what we're going to do next is we have the power bleeder hooked up to the brake reservoir. And then we're going to come over here, and we rigged up a little, mock thing because we didn't have the actual one. So we went to Ace Hardware, got a water and a clear pipe so we can see the air bubbles. And we're going to go ahead and hook it up now so we can bleed the brakes. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the bleeder bottle, the bleeder, and we're going to go from out, in, out, and we'll show you the process of doing so. So go ahead and just put your little hose on top of the little nipple.
I texted him.
Just now?
Yeah, I said I was okay.
Like so, and get your 11
Or if you're not like making it out.
and loosen it.
Well, not yet.
So make sure you pump this up to pressurize, and also make sure you have enough brake fluid in there so you do not run it dry.
Sure.
I'm gonna belay some. I'm gonna belay Clint.
So as you can see, the fluid is coming.
He's like belay certified that he can just keep.
Look at all those
Sorry,
bubbles. You can see all the bubbles coming out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep you guys out of the way.
Alright, you just
Once you get to
yeah, he's like,
it
teach you guys.
clear like that, that's a
wanna
good
learn
that's a
how
good
to
time to then you don't have any air in the system. But it's gonna have a fair amount of bubbles coming out. But we can stop there for now.
So now we are done for the first time on the outside. We move now into the inside. We're going to let it go until we see no more bubbles. Finish the inside one. We're going ahead and doing the outside one again just to make sure everything's okay. We're done bleeding the brakes. We're going to go ahead and put the brake pads in right now. The Stop Tech Street Sports. We're going to go ahead and put them in, and then Michaela will put on the STI sticker on the caliper itself. Change of plans. Michaela couldn't wait, so she's going to install it now.
That's so crooked.
Guys.
Oh my god.
Guys.
Oh jeez.
You want to use a towel?
Look at that. Clint, your car's an STI now. Nicely done.
Now we're going to go ahead and put the brake pads in the car. Just slip it right on in.
I have the same thing, except for it's bigger. I only have 2 settings.
Oh yeah. I rarely need to use the third one.
Yeah.
So if one pad isn't going in, you might want to wiggle the rotor a little bit. That's what we did, because as you guys saw, this one wasn't going in, just sliding in. So we went ahead and wiggled the rotor, and it fit right in. After the pads are in, there's going to be 2 pins that basically you slide in that hold the brakes in place in the caliper. So when you have the bottom one in, go ahead and take the tension, whatever you want to call it. You're going to slide it under, and then you're going to bend it so up at the top you slide the other pin through. And now your pads are in the caliper correctly. There's also 2 cotter pins that you need to put in as well,
Here and here.
as Jeff just pointed out. Once you have the 2 pins in, as well as the metal plate, there's going to be 2 little cotter pins that you need to put in at the very end to make sure everything is seated right.
Is the rotor the big round thing and the caliper's the STI sticker thing?
Yep. Ta-da!
So the pins are very simple to put in, as you guys just saw. You just slide them in and they'll click into place. To show you exactly where they go, one goes right there, and you just slide it in, and the next one goes right there. We're doing a test fitting and how it looks right now.
Where's the locking one?
You don't have to do that one. Man, that's nice. To finish the process, you're going to want to put the bolt back in right there, but we're using that to actually knock off the rotors for the rear and the front because the mallet just wasn't doing it. Now that we're done with one front, we're going to do the rear one. Basically the same process. 2 bolts on the back, we're going to undo those. And we're going to unbolt so that we can get the lines off, and then we'll go ahead and take the rotor off, put the new rotor on, and we'll go from there. So unlike the front where you need a 17 millimeter to take off the bolts, on the rear you're gonna have to use a 14 millimeter. So now that these two bolts are out, we're gonna take our 14 millimeter and take out the bolt holding in our stainless steel line. I already did that, speed up the process. Take it like that, and once again, slide it up and out, and we'll go ahead and rest it on this little axle right here. So we're putting anti-seize on the bolt. The bolt's going to go into the rotor, and we're going to screw it in so it pops the rotor out. It's a much easier process than doing the mallet. I believe Blake's garage, he did this method too as well, or he might have used a BFG.
Is it out all the way through? And you'll see.
Are you filming? So go ahead and just pop it all the way out. As you guys can see, when you screw these through, it connects with here and pushes the old rotor out. And this thing is heavy and tiny. Basically on the front, you don't have to touch your dust shield, but on the rear, you are gonna have to cut it off. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Now that it's cut, we're gonna go ahead and place on the rear rotor to make sure that it fits. So there's a stock plug you're gonna wanna take out of your OEM rotor. It's basically like a rubber plug, and you're gonna go ahead and put it in the new rotor that you have because it's for the e-brake. And once that's in, you can just go ahead and put the rotor on the wheel itself. Make sure you line up the holes the correct way. And then once again, we'll go ahead and put 3 lug nuts on, torque it down so the rotor is seated properly. So now that the rotor's on, we're going to take the STI rear caliper. We already anti-seized the bolts that we're going to use. Go ahead, take one in. It's a 17 millimeter. We're going to thread it in. And then you're going to do the same for the bottom bolt. Just hand tight right now. And once they're all hand tight, we'll go ahead and take the socket wrench and torque them all down. So now we're going to put the 2 bleeders in, one here, one on the other side, and then we'll go ahead and bleed the brakes and swap the old stainless steel line to the new caliper. Once the line is reconnected, we're going to go ahead and screw this stainless steel line back in with the bolt right here. And this size is a 12. I noticed there's a lot of dirt sitting in my side screw, so I went ahead and shot it out. And that's how you know it's a real Subaru, because driven on the dirt. So in the rear brakes, you're going to notice that 2 of these have these metal clips. You're going to want to make sure to install one on each side because it is the wear indicator mark. So when you hear that loud rubbing, scraping noise, you'll know that it's time to change your brakes. So go ahead and put one on the left side and one on the right side for the rear brakes. There, and then we're going to go ahead and put the little pins in. The retainer clip, the other pin, and then the 2 little, the cotter pins to hold it in place as well. So when you're inserting, we forgot to mention, you're going to want these holes to be facing out so you can put the cotter pin in.
Did you just say titties on camera?
Oh yeah. Alright, again, we're going to pump up the little pressurizer to 10 psi, and then we're going to go ahead and put the hose on the little nipple.
Bleeder screw.
The bleeder screw, if you want to be correct. And then we're going to loosen it just to where we can see the bubbles. And honestly, there's not a lot of bubbles. Once again, go outside in, outside to bleed the brakes. So we're done with the right side. We'll go ahead and do the left side now, and when everything is done, we'll show you, we're going to bleed the brakes one more time just to make sure, and we'll put the wheels on, and I'll show you everything at the very end. But that's basically, or that is how you install STI brakes on a WRX. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below. Hopefully we were thorough enough with everything. But if you guys have any questions, like I said, comment down below and I'll be sure to answer them for you.
Keep bringing back, keep bringing back.